Welcome back. In this video, we're going to look at what it means to simplify expressions. Anytime we're working with algebraic expressions, which are statements that do not include equal signs, the verb that we are going to do to those is called simplify. Think about simplifying. Remember, math involves pain, right? I think that every time we're working on math, there's a psychological pain associated with it. The whole concept of simplifying is to minimize the amount of pain that we feel. So, we're in this situation, we're going to do some math, which means we're going to be suffering a little bit. Let's make the suffering as little as possible. Let's simplify our life. Let's get rid of as much clutter as we can. Great example of this whole concept. Every time we're working with an algebraic expression, which is just a math statement with no equal sign, we're going to simplify. Here's an example of this. We're told that we need to simplify this expression. Well, first and foremost, let's just make sure that the person that wrote this silly example is indeed not trying to lead us down a dark alleyway. This is a mathematical statement. Do we see an equal sign? Okay, no equal sign. Let's go ahead and mark that. We don't see any equal sign. The moment we see no equal sign, we know that this is an expression because there's no equal sign. That's really, really nice. What do we do to expressions? We always simplify. Let's see if we can do some work on this thing. Anytime we simplify expressions, I'm going to make the suggestion that you rewrite the original expression in your own handwriting. And then what I'm going to say is use a chain of equal signs to make it easy on yourself. First thing we're going to do is we're going to do something called distribute. So we're going to take that multiplication and turn it over that subtraction. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times a negative 1/2, well, that would be 2 times 1/2. Well, 2 times 50 cents is $1, right? But there's a negative in there. So now I've got 2 times negative 1/2 is negative x. And then I just got to track that 4. So there what I've done is I've distributed that 2 out. Here we know that addition can go any way. Maybe the first thing we want to say is that negative 6 minus x is the same thing as 6 plus a minus x plus 4. We also know that this addition can be swapped. Flip it and reverse it. All right, 6 plus 4 is 10, especially on Mondays. Here we've got plus a minus x, and then this is kind of complicated, so why don't we just drop that down into something that looks like this. Notice this original expression that we had did not include an equal sign. Here we have a secondary expression which is equivalent to the first one. This is an equal sign. So the entire thing is called an equation, but this chain of expressions, notice we've got expression 0, expression 1, expression 2, expression 3, expression 4, and in this case we worked all the way down to the 5th expression. Each of these are equivalent. Since the expression here is equal to the expression here is equal to the expression here, I like to line up my equivalent expression with a chain of equal signs, starting with the original expression, immediately here, moving down the page. I like to space out each of my expressions so that I can clearly see the last expression is different from the expression under it. And I like to line up my equal signs so that it's super easy to read. I'm going to encourage you all to develop this pattern. So many mistakes I see in algebra are just literally writing mistakes. Younger students that aren't used to doing mathematics for their life don't have really, really well-refined systems, and literally the mistakes they made are not math mistakes, they're just writing mistakes. So the thing that I'm going to recommend is when we are simplifying expressions, rewrite the original expression in your own handwriting in a nice space. When you do your first simplification, use an equal sign to show that the two expressions that you're writing are equivalent. And then every time you do the next equivalent expression and simplification, write it under, line up the equal signs, and then give yourself plenty of space. Long story short, when we work with expressions, we simplify. Two expressions that are the same are connected by an equal sign, and we call those two things equivalent expressions. When there's no more simplifications to be done, we say that this is as simple as it gets. Notice, this thing is hideous, this thing is less hideous.